Hello everyone, welcome back to Tutorial Frenzy and we're back with another video. Today we'll be teaching you all about Scratch and the series Scratch Basics episode 3. Today I'll be teaching you a variety of stuff about Scratch, such as backdrop change, switching costumes, most of the other things about looks and the tab looks, and loops and also conditions or conditional statements. So let's get straight into the content. So firstly, I'll talk about backdrop change. As you can see, we have the tab backdrop here. You can just click into it. And then we can have multiple different backdrops, which can change to each other. So here we can choose a backdrop and let's just use surprise for some random backdrops. I'll choose, I guess, three backdrops. So here we have one underwater, one in space, and one in winter. Perfect. So I'm going to talk about backdrop change today. So how we can do this? So of course, let's use actually no, let's not use this. Let's use when space key pressed. Okay, so a line of code. This line of code would basically be triggered whenever the space bar is pressed, such as this. But for demonstration purposes, I'll just press this button. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate how backdrop change works. So we can, firstly, we have the backdrop set to backdrop 1, which is a blank backdrop. Actually, let's delete this. The first backdrop is underwater 1. Okay, when we press the space bar, we can switch the backdrop to winter. And it's as simple as that. As you can see, the backdrop has switched to winter. How about if we want to switch the backdrop to winter and then wait for 1 second and then change it to space? We can do just that. Yes, like that. And we can also use next backdrop, which would change the backdrop into the next backdrop. For example, from underwater 1, this is backdrop 1. Let's see in the index here. And then backdrop 2 would be this. Backdrop 3 would be this. So next backdrop basically changes the backdrop from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and etc. It would also change from the last one to the first one, I think. So something like this. Now it's on the last one, winter, and it would change to the first one, underwater. So this is basically what backdrop changes. It's quite simple. Okay. Next up, we have switching costumes. We can switch different costumes. Let's choose a sprite. Yeah, let's choose. Yeah, Andy. We can just choose him. Now he's apparently underwater. Yeah. So now I'm going to demonstrate how to switch costumes. Let's do when this sprite clicks, which basically means when I press Andy here, a line of code would be triggered. So here we want him to switch costumes. So what we can do is that we can see that he has 4 costumes, A, B, C, and D. Now we will just set his costume to A, and then we can switch his costume by switching his costume to a specific one, such as to D. Yep, like this. We can also do it, of course, the same for B and C. And we can also do next costume, which is basically the same as for backdrop. So 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 1, etc. Okay, so now I'm going to be talking about all the other things but looks. So in Scratch Basics episode 2, I've already talked about saying stuff and thinking stuff. I also talked about switching costumes and switching backdrops just now. We can also change the size and size of a sprite. For example, we can change size by 10, which is positive 10. So I would be able to change Andy's size by 10 every time I press. Okay, and we can also change his size by negative 10, which would decrease his size. Yeah, until we can't see him anymore. Yep, and setting size to 100% would, of course, change him back to his normal size, regular size, 100%. We can change the percentage to, for example, let's say 125. He would be slightly bigger. We can also do something like 75. He would be something smaller. So let's change him back to 100% for now. After that, I'm going to talk about changing the facts of Andy or all other sprites. Okay, so here we have the color effect, change color effect by 25. There are actually multiple effects that can be changed, such as color, fisheye, brightness, ghost, etc., etc. So changing the effect with by this. Remember, this is positive. We can change his color. Yep. For fisheye, it would look something like this. Yeah, actually, okay. And then for row, it would look something like this. Yeah, okay, we can set the effect to 0, which is basically deleting all the effects on the sprite. For example, we can delete the color effect back to its original color, fisheye effect, and the row effect. The row effect just basically does this, spins him around, pixelate, turns Andy into pixels. Let's turn these two back into normal. And mosaic would change Andy into a mosaic. Brightness, we can just change the brightness of a sprite. Yeah, I think okay. We forgot about pixelate. And for ghost effects, this is quite good and quite useful for fading characters. Let's see. And also, so negative numbers would like reduce the effect. Yes. Okay, that's so basically the opposite of the positive numbers for the facts. Let's set all these effects back to 0. Okay. After that, we can, oh, by the way, we can just use clear graphic effects if like the sprite is just too messy. Like this, no, we cannot take the hassle to change all of these. We can just simply clear graphic effects. And there is one more block which is very, very important, which is the show and hide block. So basically what it does is simple. So it shows the sprites or hides the sprite. Okay. So Andy here, when we click the hide block, he would obviously hide, and show block, he would show again. These, okay, so these are, this is basically what the show and hide button does. So always remember to hide or show something at the beginning of your game or animation or code if you need to, just in case. So I'll talk about these other loop functions like maybe afterwards, but not in this tutorial. After that, allow me to talk about loops. These are very important and can prevent the use of too repetitive code. So here we have the first loop block, which is repeat for a certain number. We can repeat 10 times. For example, if you want Andy to move 10 steps, do that. If you want him to do that 10 times, which would mean moving 100 steps, we can just press this. So what repeat does, it's basically it basically loops all the code inside here, inside the block, like within the block for as many times as it is typed in. For example, 10 here. After that, we also have the forever block, which is basically changing. So basically changing the sprite forever. And this bunch of code would just go on and on and on and on and on forever. Yeah. So forever next costume, it would, yeah, you would see something like this. Yep. Okay. So after forever, we also have repeat until. So this block would basically repeat the code inside it. For example, maybe repeating next costume until something. This something can be, for example, if repeat until touching mouse pointer, we can do something like this. Yep, so it's not touching mouse pointer right now, right, Andy? But when it touches the mouse pointer, it would stop the code inside. In this case, changing costumes. Yep, okay, so these are pretty much all the loops I need to teach in this lesson. So aside from that, the last topic of this tutorial would be conditionals and also a bit of operators because we might need to use them. So we have if then. So this basically means if something is true or if the condition here is fulfilled, then the following group of code would run. Let's try something up. Okay, yep, okay, if touching mouse pointer, yeah, so if touching mouse pointer, we can use a operator here. But actually not, wait, no, we shouldn't use this. Yeah, okay, so if so basically if 100 is larger than 50, then maybe change costume. 100 is larger than 50, then when this condition is true, then the following line of code would run. Yes, because 100 is larger than 5. So, okay, we also have another one of these conditions, which is if then else. So if 100 is larger than 50, then they would do something, but if, so the difference between these two, but if the condition here isn't met, the computer would run something else. For example, maybe set change pixelate effect by 25. But because it is larger than 50, it would just simply run the code next costume. But once it isn't, because 10 isn't larger than 50, then pixelate. Yes, the computer would run pixelate. Yeah, and now you can't even see them anymore. Yeah, okay, let's clear all graphic effects. So these are basically what the conditional statements are. These are called conditional statements because once a condition is met, the computer would run something, or else it might also run something else. It really depends. So I would also talk a little bit about operators. So these might be used in conditionals. I might talk about them more detailedly in other videos, but yes, as you can see, these can fit into the condition blocks of the conditionals, such as larger than 50 or smaller than something or equal to something. It doesn't necessarily have to be 50. And it can, if we can also use these, if something and something is true or fulfilled, then something, or we can also use or if something or something is true, then something or aside from those two, we can also use something if not something, then something. So these can also be very useful in conditional blocks. I mean conditional statements when using them. So that is all for today. I hope you learned all about backdrop changes, switching costumes, most of the other things about looks, loops, conditions, and also a little bit about operators. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to tune in for the next Scratch Basics video. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye.